What type of grown man waves like that? I think Tim has a little sugar in his tank. Maybe that's why him and his wife shake hands instead of hugging. I don't think he likes getting too close to women. I think he might have something for dudes. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just be honest about who you are. But anyways, earlier today, Tim Walz was at the Minnesota State Fair. And of course, the mainstream media propaganda machine, they are trying to frame this and make it look like he was greeted with an overwhelming warm welcome. And I'll be honest, yeah, there were about a half a dozen, maybe a dozen people there cheering him on. They were probably paid to do so. But the reality is that there were several booths at this fair that were dedicated to making fun of Tim Walz. In fact, here's the most popular booth at the Minnesota State Fair today. Let's take a look. Yeah, the mainstream media is not going to show you that at all. But I find it hilarious because the Kamala Harris campaign, they keep putting out these clips trying to pretend as if Kamala and Tim Walz are greeted by tons and tons of supporters everywhere they go. But they forget that their cameras are not the only ones rolling. People have camera phones. There's cameras everywhere from every angle. So we've been able to expose a lot of these lies, like when Kamala Harris went to the barbecue restaurant in Savannah, Georgia. The Kamala Harris campaign shared a clip of a few people clapping as she walked into the restaurant, but what they failed to tell you was that the people clapping were actually Trump supporters, and they were clapping, "Let's go Trump, let's go Trump," as Kamala Harris was walking from her car to the barbecue restaurant. So we're able to find other angles of these events, and we see that the support is staged, right? And that a lot of the groups, a lot of the crowds that are crowding around to see Kamala, they're not there to support Kamala. They're there to heckle her, okay? And also, we already know, we've had it confirmed by several restaurant owners that Kamala Harris is coming into these restaurants. The Secret Service is making everyone leave who's in there, and they're bringing in their own people, their own actors, to fill the restaurants. So Kamala's not walking into a random barbecue shop and talking to the people who are eating there. No, they're all staged in place there before Kamala arrives. But Tim Walz was walking around the Minnesota State Fair. I guess he was trying to ignore all of the booths that were making fun of him. And, you know, the mainstream media is doing whatever they can to protect Tim Walz and Kamala. But at the same time, they think they have the right to ask questions, which they do. But they're starting to realize that, hey, even though we're supporting Kamala and Tim Walz, even though we're running cover for them, they're not giving us anything in return. In fact, they're dodging us. They're dodging our questions. They won't do our interviews. So in many ways, it's like a one-sided type of relationship here where the mainstream media is doing whatever they can for Tim and Kamala, but Kamala and Tim aren't doing anything for the mainstream media. In fact, they're just making them look even worse than they already have, which is kind of hard to do. But as Tim Walz was walking around and the media was following him, faking all of this support, one reporter asked him a question, and here's what happened.
What's your reaction to the 6 hostages being found dead in Gaza?
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Reaction to the 6 hostages being found dead in Gaza.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
He runs away. He runs away from all questions, all reporters, just like he ran away from the war over there in Iraq, and he left all of his other colleagues to go over there and fight while he stayed at home. Tim Walz is a coward. Kamala Harris is a coward. and they literally run from these reporters, yet they still want the mainstream media to follow them around with their cameras and spread their propaganda, yet they won't even do, the media a favor by answering one or two questions. So this is what you're getting. This is someone who wants to be in the White House. Now imagine if Trump did this. Imagine if J.D. Vance did this. You would never hear the end about it. But, Trump and J.D. Vance, they don't have an opportunity for things like this to happen because they're already in front of cameras answering whatever question you throw at them. But here's a question about Gaza and what's going on with Israel. And Tim Walz knows that there's no right answer to this question because he's going to piss someone off. And right now, listen, they're not going to change anything that's going on. Tim Walz and Kamala, they're not going to change anything that's going on over in Israel and Gaza, okay? They're not. But they understand that a lot of their supporters, they're marching in the streets to free Palestine. So they don't want to answer any questions about this because it can and will be used against them. But then again, they don't want to answer questions about anything because you literally have two idiots who have no business being in this position going up against people who actually have done a good job in the White House before, or at least Donald Trump has, right? So Tim Walz and Kamala, they're these idiots. They're brain dead. They're not capable of doing these interviews and answering questions. And they're actually afraid of their voter base. And they know that it's better for them just to not say anything. It's literally better for them just to not say anything at all. It's going to be easier for them to be elected if they don't say anything. And that's the exact opposite of what we usually see in politics. Usually you want to know about your politicians. You want to know what their beliefs are. You want to know what their policies are. You want to know what they're going to do about this problem or that problem. But Kamala and Tim have decided that they're so dumb that anytime they open their mouth, they lose support. So they're just going to walk around, eat ice cream, and go to fairs and pretend like people are happy to see them, when in reality, most of the country actually despises these people. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. And if you find yourself getting too worked up by all of this, remember, it's just political cinema.